Hi, Terry Fairchild, registered corporate coach. And when I was about 30 years old, I was a manager. I had a staff of about 9 people. And the organization I was working for decided to do feedback surveys. And so they gave surveys to my staff, and the staff rated me on my leadership. You know, how did they perceive my leadership? And they also gave them an opportunity to write comments. And so I remember when I received that back, I think I had been manager about a year. I really didn't know what to do with that information. I never had anybody debriefing it. And so that's the topic of this video. How can we receive the feedback from 360 surveys? And so I remember getting that feedback, and it was, by and large, it was very positive. You know, Terry works hard to get us the stuff we need. She's here, you know, a lot of positive stuff. But I remember there was one comment in the comments area that said, I wish that when we were in meetings that she wouldn't be so negative in regard to production issues. It's just very distracting. And so I remember just thinking, first of all, I thought, oh, you know, I went through those 4 series of grief, right? Denial, anger, depression, acceptance. So the first was, well, you know, I don't know what they're talking about. I just don't, you know, I just don't see myself doing that. And then the second area was, you know, I was really upset. You know, as much time and effort as I put in for these people, you know, and to have them just nitpick on that, I just felt totally attacked, angry, and then I started being depressed. I'm like, you know, I just don't think I could put any more into this job. You know, I just don't think I could, you know, I don't know what they want from me. They want blood, my firstborn son. And then finally I started keeping things in perspective a little bit better, and I thought, you know, I think just what I need to do here is just be more professional and positive when I talk about production issues, because obviously they're seeing something here that they're not liking, and I just need to focus on that and improve that. And so again, that was a lot of energy and time to focus. So I want to give you some hints on how you can deal with information that may not be as positive, even though mine was by and large positive, still just really spending a lot of energy and time on the negative issues. So let's talk about why would we even endure a 360, because some people say, you know, I just don't believe in them. What 360 feedback surveys can do for us is really well described in the Joe Harry window. And in that window there's 4 areas, and there's things that we know about ourselves that others know about us, and that's an area called the arena. There are also things that others know about us that we don't see ourselves, that we're not aware of, and that's a blind spot. So 360 surveys can help us identify blind spots like I had regard to my feedback. And then another area is that there's things that we know about ourselves that others are not aware of, and that's a facade. And so we may be holding back and maybe not being as fully authentic and ourselves in situations. And so what a 360 feedback will do is it will help us to enlarge that arena. We'll lower the blind spots, we'll lower that facade, and enlarge that arena so that we're better communicators. And so that's one of the things that was identified in what people want to see from their leaders. There was a study done years ago. It was called The Extraordinary Leader. And it was a study done over 2 years. There was 200,000 surveys and 20,000 leaders. And what people said that they wanted from their leaders was, number one, communication. They wanted really good communication and leadership. They wanted their leaders to be adaptable, and they wanted their leaders to build relationships. They wanted them to be good at task management and production of whatever area they were in charge of. And they wanted them to focus on the development of others and then their own personal development. And so those 8 competencies are things that will typically come up on a 360 survey that people want the people's perceptions. And that is a really key word, perception. What are people's perceptions of you as a leader? What are their observations of you in those areas? And so the things to look at is, am I showing these to the people that are evaluating me? So you want to make sure that people who evaluate you actually have time to observe you, but also understand, most importantly, that perception may be different. So if we took an apple and you saw one side of the apple and it was shiny and red and just delicious, looked delicious, really favorable, but someone had a different view of the apple and there was a wormhole. It's the same apple, 2 different perceptions. And so as you look at feedback, sometimes you might want to look at the feedback as a whole versus a few different opinions. And if you do have a couple of areas where you're getting that negative feedback, or scores that aren't as high as you like, maybe that's an opportunity to start to really build relationships, stronger relationships. Could be an opportunity. So let's think about when you have a comment that is not as favorable as you would like. So one of the first things to do when you get your feedback is to look at the feedback, read through it, and maybe put it down for a couple days, pick it up again, and really just look at what themes are jumping out to me. Make sure that you're highlighting and focusing on those areas where there's a lot of favorable comments. Those are areas that you naturally succeed, and you just want to make sure that you take the time to give that the emphasis of importance that it deserves, and really to focus on positive aspects of your leadership. Then, if there are a couple of areas where you're not getting the scores that you would like, is to really look at that. What are some themes that are appearing? Are there opportunities for growth? And one of the most important things I would think about is that if you have a negative comment, it's likely that you are going to start to think negative. You're going to be like, I wonder who wrote that. How could they do that? This is really unfair. I can't believe this. I've already given my life to this job. How could they expect any more from me? What do they want, my firstborn child? So when we think those things, the question I would ask you is that going to help you or hurt you? And typically, the answer that I would hear back is, it's probably not going to help me. It's probably going to make me feel negative, defeated. It's not going to be positive for me. And so naturally, I teach a conflict course. And so one of the things that we talk about here is, let's replace that with a better thought. So if you are feeling very negative and a lot of negative thoughts in relation to the feedback that you're receiving, I would go through the process and say, okay, now how can I replace this with a better thought? They want me to be more positive in meetings. I am going to use this as an opportunity to go to the next level. I am responsible for a large group and their expectations are high, and so I'm going to have high expectations for myself. I'm going to use this process to get better. Okay, so anytime we replace those negative thoughts with a better thought, we're going to keep this whole process more in perspective, and it's just going to be much more useful. And so once you've kind of worked through those emotional things, those feelings, then I would say the last part of this process then is to say, so what do I need to do to move forward? And so typically a good process is to take 3 areas and say, okay, so now what do I want to do differently? What do I want to start doing? Is there anything that I need to stop doing? And is there anything that I want to keep doing? And so those things that you want to start doing, I would say pick 3 areas. I usually, when I start a leadership program, I'll give people a checklist. So a lot of people might say, you know what, I want to start really focusing on better time management. Or I want to focus more on a couple of really key relationships. Or, you know what, I want to do a better job of delegating. I'm just not delegating like I need to, and I want to start coaching my people to a higher level. Or I want to deal with this conflict that's going on. So again, I would just pick 3 areas, figure out what you want to do 6 months from now, what would be different, and then really just start moving yourself forward. So I hope this has been helpful at helping you process any feedback that you may be getting either on a performance appraisal or a 360 feedback process. And remember these thoughts: no matter what your level of ability, you have more potential than you could ever develop in a lifetime. And if we did everything that we're capable of, we would literally astound ourselves. So as you move forward from today, use feedback and perceptions as an opportunity to identify areas that you want to work on. Focus on those areas, and when you do, you'll continue to inspire results in yourself and those around you.